liberation. The devotees are satisfied simply in being engaged in the service of the Lord, regardless of the situation. Yes. And the second, that was the first paragraph, second and last paragraph. Lord Brahma is the first living being who directly learned the Vedas or the Vedic wisdom from the Lord. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Therefore, who can be a more learned Vedantist than Lord Brahma? Isn't it? He admits that in spite of his perfect knowledge in the Vedas, he was unable to know the glories of the Lord. Haribol. Now we get to know everyone's mantra, favorite mantra. So therefore, who can be a more learned Vedantist than Lord Brahma? He admits that in spite of his perfect knowledge in the Vedas, he was unable to know the glories of the Lord. Since no one can be more than Lord Brahma, how can the so-called Vedantist be perfectly cognizant of the absolute truth? The so-called Vedantists, Prabhupada one time explained Vedantists, many people in India, they claim to be Vedantists. Mayavadis especially, they like to be called Vedantists because actually they study. They do a lot of study of Veda. But most people who are called Vedantists, they are Vedantists without Bhakti. That's why Srila Prabhupada's name or title, he received actually this title from his godbrothers when he was in India before going to the West, Bhaktivedanta. He did not give himself the title, it was given to him. It was given to him. Yeah. Because the essence of Vedanta, Vedanta means knowledge. The essence of Vedanta is Bhakti. So therefore Bhakti Vedanta is like the perfect title. So Prabhupada is telling here, the so-called Vedantists, those who are devoid of Bhakti, therefore cannot enter into the existence of the Lord without being trained in the matter of Bhakti Vedanta. Or Vedanta plus Bhakti. Yeah, that's the point. Not sufficient to be Vedantist. You have to be Vedantist plus Bhakti. You have to be Bhakti Vedanta. Yeah. Vedanta means self-realization. And Bhakti means realization of the personality of Godhead. To some extent. To some extent. Because Lord Brahma himself is admitting that I don't know him. I don't know Krishna. I know about Krishna something, but I don't fully know him. Right? Then Prabhupada continues here, no one can know the personality of Godhead in full, but at least to a certain extent one can know the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, by self-surrender and a devotional attitude, and by nothing else. So what are the two ways to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Two ways Prabhupada is mentioning. Chaitanya, what are the two ways to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We have to test Chaitanya sometimes.
He's saying that Bhakti Maharaj.
By Bhakti Marg.
Bhakti.
By Bhakti, yes. But Prabhupada is telling two things are necessary. One of them is Bhakti, 50% mark. Before doing Bhakti, Prabhupada mentions by surrender.
So, Bhakti Chaitanya Mantu doing Sharanagati.
Sharanagati. One has to go to Sharanagati. Our farm in Western Canada is called Sharanagati Village. That's the name of the village, Sharanagati, in Canada. We have a community, big community. It's a big place, quite a few families, and it is called Sharanagati, the place where one learns to surrender. And we learn to surrender by Bhakti. So that is, the correct answer is that by surrender and by the process of Bhakti, we can know something about Krishna, something. Yeah. Yes. At least to a certain extent. So Prabhupada is telling nothing else except these two things, self-surrender and devotional service. Yeah. In the Brahma Samhita also, it is said, Vedasu dolabam, yes, or simply by study of Vedanta, one can hardly find out the existence of the personality of Godhead. Actually. But the Lord is adulabam atmabhaktao, very easily available to his devotee. Srila Vyasadeva, therefore, was not satisfied simply with compiling the Vedanta Sutras, but over and above this, by the advice of his spiritual master Narada, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. So actually, Vedanta Sutra is a culmination of Vedic knowledge. When Srila Vyasadeva put into writing all of the Vedic knowledge, the last that he wrote was Vedanta Sutra. Yeah, because Vedanta Sutra, Veda, Anta, the end of knowledge, ultimate. But that Vedanta Sutra has been further elaborated in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary. Yeah. It's just like somebody writes a book, and then he writes another book to explain that book. So Srila Vyasadeva, he wrote Vedanta Sutra. So to properly understand Vedanta Sutra, he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. So that means what we are meant to find in Vedanta Sutra, if we read Bhagavatam, we will find in the Bhagavatam. So that means that if we simply read Srimad Bhagavatam, we don't have to read Vedanta Sutra. Yeah. It also means, as explained by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Satsandarbha, if we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is compiled by the literary incarnation of Godhead, Srila Vyasadeva, all the knowledge in the original Vedas is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and more. So therefore, Vaishnavas fully concentrate, completely focus their study on Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amala Puranam, pure Purana. Few more lines before we finish. And today I have a question for, yes, I have a question for Chaitanya. I hope he's ready for my question. So, yeah, last few lines here. Srila Vyasadeva therefore was not satisfied simply with compiling the Vedanta Sutras, but over and above this, by the advice of his spiritual master Narada, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam in order to understand the real import of Vedanta. Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam therefore is the absolute medium by which to understand the absolute truth. Srimad Bhagavatam therefore is the absolute medium by which to understand the absolute truth. And I'll repeat it one more time, because that is our Vedic system. Srimad Bhagavatam therefore is the absolute medium by which to understand the absolute truth. Therefore we study Bhagavatam every day. We hear from Bhagavatam every day. All of our Vaishnavacharyas have very extensively studied Bhagavatam and written commentaries on the Bhagavatam. So yesterday, we should mention also, because today is a special day. Today is the disappearance of Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan. Today is the appearance of Srimati Gangamata Goswamini, Gangamata, and today also is Ganga Puja. So today is a good day to go to the Ganga and take some blessings from Mother Ganges and perform Ganga Puja. Ganga is here. And tomorrow will be Ekadasi. Day after tomorrow, which is Trayodasi, happens to be Panihati Chiradahi Utsav in Panihati. If possible, the devotees should go. Already planning, huh? Yeah. I would like to go, but I cannot go. I will go in spirit. But you should go. Yeah, anyway, we can discuss. My question. Can you kindly explain what it means when we say, die before you die?
చనిపోయే కన్నా ముందు చనిపోవడం అంటే ఏంటి అనేది నా అర్థం ఏంటని చెప్పేసి మహారాజు మళ్ళీ నేను అడుగుతున్నాను ఏంటి
Die before you die. Cannot. He needs one more day to think about it. Yeah? I think since yesterday he's not thinking about this. Between now and tomorrow, he has to, and now that Father is here, can get some guidance from Father. What is the purport, meaning of die before you die? Yeah. And his last day here also, so you can get some counseling from him also. Any other question besides the question of die before you die? Any other question?
He is asking that Maharaj, how much bhakti we need to do to go to Goloka Vrindavan.
How much bhakti? We 100%. How much bhakti means a full bhakti, our whole life. If we give something to Krishna and keep something for us, we cannot go. That is meaning of Sharanagati. Yeah. Full surrender. So Prabhupada is telling, if you do 50% in this lifetime, that is very good, but you have to again come back to do another 50%. Yes. So that is, we can only get Krishna when we fully surrender. That means full bhakti. Even in sleeping, dreaming, should be about bhakti. Just like we are reading in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhavendra Puri is always getting swapna, a dream of Krishna, Gopal. Yeah.
He's saying that Maharaj,
Hey. He's telling you in Telugu, now you say in English now.
He's recollecting that these dreams, like to get out from these bushes, Gopal.
Yeah.
So, and also he's recollecting that how the deity Gopal has said to bring some chandan from Orissa.
Yes.
So he is recollecting that all.
Yes. So the more we can recollect and remember, that is bhakti. Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, to remember. Yeah. So that Vishnu Smaranam, that remembering of Krishna, that remembering of Gopala in Vrindavan, that remembrance of Madhavendra Puri's pastime, that will come more easily as we intensify our Sravanam Kirtanam. And the more we increase our hearing and chanting, we will understand the need, the importance of being engaged in practical devotional service. We'll develop as the verses purport Prabhupada explaining, we will develop strong desire, eagerness to perform devotional service. So that is what Prabhupada is telling. By surrender and by bhakti, then nothing else, we can gain Krishna's mercy and go back to Goloka. Yeah. And we can begin to live in Goloka even before going to Goloka. You know that. We can live in Vrindavan even before going to Vrindavan. Goloka, Vrindavan, that is not a location, that is a state of consciousness. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that Vrindavan is not this particular, Vrindavan is where the heart is. So even one may stay in America or Europe or any country, if one is performing activities of devotional service, he's living in Vrindavan. Yeah. Vrindavan is in the state of UP, isn't it? Boma Vrindavan. So Vrindavan is not a question of state or province. Vrindavan is a question of state of mind. Consciousness, yeah. Okay, I think we need to close. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gauda Bhimanande.